The Galactic Council has called for me, my eternal starlight. It seems final preparations for the expedition into the Dead Zone have finished. The Stellar Emperor has been asking me to head the Third Fleet, and I assume the other heads agreed. You know he can be quite assertive. I know you object to my position. I know I will be leaving a flourishing clan in a tender time. I know how dangerous the Dead Zone is. Who doesn't? But duty compels me, as it always has. It was through duty we met, after all. This grand endeavour needs my skills, though I wish to retire to my fief. I write this to you, my beloved, for your understanding. Though my heart beats with uncertainty, the galaxy must know. Did anyone survive past the border? Why did the hated ones slow their advance? Why are we still alive? I board the Lightning tomorrow and tunnel straight for the capital. I shall command the nomadic Shepherd the day after that, and the 60 ships under her. I will find the answers, Yoram. Sing me blessings until I return. And tell Uli that I'm sorry. Tov. Patriarch Tov Garashint rested upon his command chair as he shook off the brief malaise that came with higher dimensional travel. The obsidian-plated bipedal sapient ran one of his 4 claws across his chitinous face as his senses slowly returned. His insectoid mandibles clicked in irritation. Despite witnessing the prismatic beauty that was hypertunneling time and time again, the discomfort that came with it, and the many cycles in the Kurskan clan navy, and then the Galactic Federation peacekeepers, inevitably dissipated its novelty. However, once that feeling left, the Patriarch's hackles raised, and his danger senses flared. A dozen medals adorning his chest and his gilded uniform gave him an aura of absolute authority. Immediately, he took stock of his command staff. Report. Have we reached our desired destination? A grizzled insectoid of the same species as the Patriarch was swiping through different monitors, displaying all kinds of information with each of her 4 arms. Her compound eyes, as well as her genetic and cybernetic modifications, easily allowed her to multitask. Yes, my lord. We reached system 1120-C-785, a trinary system with a binary orange pair and a single red dwarf. We are currently enhancing our scans, but it seems we have reached our destination. Patriarch Tov clicked his mandibles in relief, and the tension in his shoulders lowered ever so slightly. Very good, Admiral Yan. Hypertunneling in this unstable region of the galaxy was wrought with peril. And the rest of the expeditionary fleet? All ships accounted for. However, the Silver Spine is reporting electronic damage and is powered down temporarily. A few lesser vessels are reporting other minor problems. Admiral Yan made a quick gesture with a flick of her wrist, as she sent a summarized data packet of the fleet status to the Patriarch. The Kurskan leader sounded a low buzz as he skimmed the packet. Not the worst entry we've experienced since this damned expedition began. The Patriarch's voice sounded solemn, and the rest of the crew's mood dampened quite a bit. The Auton captain is endeavouring to get the light cruiser operational as swiftly as possible. Patriarch Tov wordlessly waved his antenna in hearing that. His unmoving head scanned the rest of the 20 other command staff aboard the bridge with the nomadic Shepherd, his personal flagship. Despite the expedition being halfway into its journey, the crew was still in silent dread. After all, it wasn't easy to shake off a generation of horror stories. Just another cycle, and a few hundred systems to survey, the Patriarch muttered under anxious clicks. He quickly recovered as he put on a facade of stout-heartedness, but his inner emotions betrayed him. The fleet had undertaken a holy and cursed mission, after all. One that required the skills of elite sailors and naval officers from a number of alien civilizations and polities. Those who volunteered for this endeavour were veterans or heroes of glorious past, the finest of great interstellar empires and nations, liaisons and officers from mighty armadas, ambassadors of the Galactic Council, scientists of the One Mind Initiative, and even mystics from the Eternal Choir. Patriarch Tov himself was chosen to lead this fleet for his impressive list of accomplishments, even amongst all these legendary beings. A slayer of beasts, a freedom fighter, a noble general. The scars on his deep black chitinous body marked the many pains during his long life, reminders of hardship, loss, and glory. Despite all of that, every sapient aboard this expedition had to pay absolute respect to the perils they were in. After all, a journey into the Dead Zone was no task for the light-hearted. A sounding beep cut through the noise of the command staff on their respective tasks. Patriarch Tov raised his head ever so slightly. A floating sapient that looked like a long cerulean jellyfish, a Jotex, cyclically projected their melodic voice. "My lord, we have preliminary readings of this system. We appear to have come across another graveyard." Everyone's soul sank at the report. An omen, Patriarch Tolf thought to himself. No matter. This is not the first we've come across people. We can pay our respects to the spirits after we uncover more. Scholar Lulaine, who did this system belong to? The Patriarch spoke with a commanding tone. The Jotex scholar hummed before speaking. "We have detected a small number of starships, and a space installation of unknown design. Our database is showing this to be part of the fallen Derenu hegemony's area of influence, but there's no record of them having a presence in this system." The Patriarch processed this information with his keen mind, before coming to the only rational conclusion. Then this belonged to a previously unknown race. The Patriarch felt sullen at the realization. This could have been first contact. There was something inherently depressing in that piece of information. Over the decades, the different alien races had come to cherish life after the calamity. Seeing a previously unknown spacefaring race fall prey to the hated ones, before the galactic community could get to know them, evoked a myriad of negative feelings amongst the fleet. A shame, Patriarch Tolf earnestly spoke, as he turned towards an avian sapient in a resplendent naval uniform. "Captain Craw, set course to the nearest wreckage." The avian captain, an Eaxian, let out a low chirp. "Yes, my lord." The nomadic shepherd set forth. If sound could travel through the empty void, one would hear the groan of thousands upon thousands of tons of exotic metals. The enormous starship, with a length of over 6 kilometers, acted as the logistics and central processing node of the fleet. Its overall shape was segmented and covered in curved and smooth plating, almost casting an illusion that it was a gigantic space beetle. Surrounding it were nearly 50 much smaller ships of different designs and classes, ranging from sleek, Avorian Imperial destroyers bursting with high-tech armaments to utilitarian cargo haulers from the Huon League. At first glance, it seemed like a mishmash of ships from various alien civilizations, all put together into one disorganized fleet. But a closer inspection revealed that each starship was perfectly designed to last for a long journey into deep space. The nomadic shepherd provided everything from food, medicine, and materials from its internal farms, foundries, and factories. If the fleet wanted to, they can easily turn into a self-sustaining body for decades. Patriarch Tolf glossed over the thought once, but he found it to be unappealing to his senses. After all, they were here on a mission. "Approaching Site A, Patriarch," a naval officer spoke. The crew watched as a display of the wreckage came into view. Of course, it was through a number of monitors that simulated what one would see past glass panes, as the bridge was situated deep in the centre of the ship. The fleet sent scores of observation drones, most of which were metallic in nature, but a few were biological in their make. The small machines raced through empty space and closed in on the site. A number of ruined starships and a large ring space station of cylindrical design came into their cameras. The constructs floated lifelessly close to a barren moon, orbiting a gas giant. Optical cameras and sensors penetrated deep into the silent wreck, uncovering an ocean of data. Rather primitive in its design, utilitarian for the most part with little to no armaments. Any that are present seem more suited for stray asteroids or mining implements. "A mining ship, perhaps?" The Patriarch curiously spoke, as his compound eyes looked over the details of the starship. "Most of them appear to be construction and mining ships, my lord, but the largest appears to be a science ship. Its FTL capabilities reveal it's most likely the first among this alien race's kind. The device is centered around this single ship, and there appear to be magnetic holders where the smaller ships can hitch a ride. This may have been their first foray into a different star system. And death is what awaited them. How unlucky." The command staff scoured every bit of information from the wreckage, duty-bound to get everything they can from their scans. Material composition shows base elements. There appears to be a number of bipedal robots aboard, but most have been rendered completely inoperable by the Hated Ones. No sign of their creators. The Hated Ones scored the inside clean, more biomass for their filth. Our probes show a small pantry. The species seem to subsist on a mixed diet. There's a small armory of non-lethal arms, but nothing else of note. We found what seems to be their databanks. We are downloading what we can. The Kurskan Patriarch watched on as his underlings passed through their findings. Meanwhile, the rest of the fleet sent out scouts to uncover other sites. The head of the fleet turned to his admiral. "Any corpses from the devils?" The Kurskan admiral shook her head. "Traces of their blood have been found, Patriarch. It seems these humans were able to injure the Hated Ones with their mining equivalent, though any evidence of having felled one is unknown." Understandable. This is no military fleet after all, and the horrors eat their dead. But their tenacity will be remembered. What else have we uncovered? Well, they appear to be bipedal mammalian race, and have achieved faster-than-light travel approximately 117 cycles ago, or 152 in their years. These wreckages are ancient then. It seems to have hit at the same time as the rest of this region. Admiral Yan waved her antenna, as she continued her report while simultaneously commanding the rest of the fleet. They named the system Alpha Centauri, and it was supposed to be their first colony outside their home system, Sol. They were in the middle of setting up what seems to be a quantum communication station, and sent a number of science and construction ships to prepare for the first colony ship. Of course, the Void horrors put a stop to that from happening. Not even the moon they were to colonize Finland was spared. She went silent for a moment, as she brought a clawed finger to the side of her head. It seems the scribes from the One Mind Initiative have translated a distress message sent by the humans' largest ship, the Diogenes. Play it. The crew paused their duties as the video came into view. The expedition fleet watched with immense interest as the face of this unknown race showed himself. The human was clearly distraught and injured. The man clutched, grimaced, as a piece of the hull was lodged into his side and pierced his once pristine spacesuit. Patriarch Tov observed every detail of this human. The alien had a strong jaw and forward-facing eyes. The Kurskan leader immediately saw the signs of a hardy species from appearance alone, and made note that the sapient was as tall as his own race, which was comparatively sizable amongst the other races. This person wore a sleek blue spacesuit, an insignia on his shoulders, maybe a symbol to donate authority. More importantly, Patriarch Tov saw the emotions, deep in his mammalian eyes, what he was all too familiar with. Fear. The fact that this human, did not lay on the ground shaking like most, and instead put his efforts into sending out a warning to his home, showed immense bravery that was to be commended. The Patriarch made a note for the Eternal Choir to sing an honoured dirge for this particular individual. Soon the human began speaking. He had a deep voice that was a tad guttural, even when translated to Kuskani, or the myriad of languages the other sapients aboard the fleet spoke. Of command, this is Captain Alfonso Castello of the man paused as he let out deep breaths. Of the Diogenes. Operation New Horizons is a no-go. The UN preliminary fleet has encountered some manner of void beasts that emerged from a portal. About 30 of them attacked the Magellan and disabled her drives. The man, Alfonso, shuddered as alarms blared in the background. The things ate through the hull like they were made of tissue paper. We weren't equipped to deal with these things. The crew died despite resistance. Thankfully, Science Officer and Resident Sai, Ramiel, was able to form a plan of action. She took control of our anti-asteroid and mining lances and managed to get a few of the bastards. Alfonso smirked before he quickly faded. But the bastards learned quick and started to go for our weapons. We lost the Bramanto and the Michelangelo after that. The feed was shaky, and the interior of the starship was dark, save for the red emergency lights. Ramiel and the other ships maneuvered to catch the beast's attention away from the Diogenes and the comm tower. Alfonso became sullen, as tears formed in his eyes. Man, this is pretty shit, huh? I wanted to raise kids on this moon. The man mumbled low, which made it difficult to hear. He cleared his throat before looking straight at the camera. The Raphael, the San Sorvino, and the Ronin sacrificed themselves, overloaded their fission reactors, and killed the fucking things. It gave us enough time to finish the quantum communications tower. Patriarch Tov peered into the human's eyes and saw his emotions clearly, a trait all Kurskans possessed. The man looked tired and scared, but a fire of defiance was burning deep within him. It was evident the captain had made peace with his imminent demise. We're sending this message because Ramiel detected more portals emerging, and, well, there's a lot of them coming through. I'm looking at the camera feed, which I'm recording and sending with this message. They'll be reaching the ship in a few minutes. CEO Roa is getting everyone on board to prepare for combat. Suddenly, a soft female voice sounded throughout the ship. Captain Alfonso, the void beasts have made landfall on Vinland. Our ground probes are showing that the creatures are devouring the fauna and flora. They've overrun the ground base. So, Damien and the team are also dead. Figures. Alfonso let out a hollow laugh. Thank you, Ramiel. You should go, though. Send yourself through the quantum node and back to Earth. You should be able to, right? Alfonso awaited what was apparently the ship's onboard AI to respond. After a minute, the machine intelligence gave a surprising reply. I have already sent the necessary information to Earth. I am simply waiting for you to finish your final message, but I wish to stay. Alfonso widened his eyes as he looked up at the ceiling. But you'll die. That's fine. I wish to know if heaven exists for my kind. Alfonso genuinely smiled for the first time since the recording played, then chuckled. Thanks, Ram.
You are welcome, Alf.
Suddenly, the ship began to shake, as sparking cables fell from the ceiling. Alfonso pulled out a handgun from his hip. His grip was shaky, as he closed the opening of his helmet. The beasts have arrived and have breached the aft. Rowe, Kate and Marcus have been pulled out into the vacuum. Their suit telemetries have ceased responding. Another shake reverberated across the starship. Is the reactor primed, Remiel?
Yes. Ready on your command, Captain.
Alfonso took one last look at the camera. This is Captain Alfonso of the Diogenes. Over and out. Now, Remiel!
See you soon, Captain.
The footage was abruptly cut at this point. The expeditionary fleet remained in solemn silence, and a number of the more religious crew began singing a funeral hymn for the humans in space and on Vinland. Patriarch Tor spoke a short traditional Kirksan poem in his species tongue before turning to the Jotez scholar. When was the footage found?
The black box, as the humans called it, was floating at high velocity in orbit above Vinland. It supposedly survived the fission overload, as the materials encasing it seems to be made especially robust.
And the Diogenes?
Obliterated, with only small pieces of scorched hull remaining.
The Kurzkan expedition leader stroked a mandible with his clawed hand in deep thought. What of this artificial intelligence, Remiel? The machine spoke surprisingly lifelike.
We found little trace of this, Remiel, my lord. Its lingering programming still exists in some of the ship's computers, but for all intents and purposes, the AI seems to have perished.
Tov clicked his mandibles in surprise, as did others from the staff. As it said it would. That is interesting. The Jotez continued as its tendrils remained connected with the nomadic shepherd's mainframe. She paused as she debated whether to reveal the next bit of information.
The humans classified their AI as sapient, my lord, giving the scientific name Homo synthetica.
She slowly spoke in uncertainty. That revelation sparked even greater surprise amongst the crew, though more in utter disbelief. A sapient AI? Impossible!
These humans must have been fooled. The galaxy has never encountered such an existence.
But what if? It did die with the rest of its creators.
It must have fled for the quantum node at the last second. We have no evidence it died here.
Enough! The British staff immediately quieted down upon hearing Patriarch Tor's imperious voice. Whether or not such an existence is possible, quarrying over a gravesite is highly inappropriate. These humans, despite being armed with mining equipment, managed to fell a pack of the hated ones, sacrificing themselves in order to send a warning back to the home. Pay respects! The British staff looked apologetic, and bowed deeply to the expedition leader.
We apologize, my lord.
The Kurzkan waved his two left thumbs in dismissal. Never mind that. We will let the Eternal Choir finish its hymns. Then we shall send the wreckages towards one of the binary stars and build a gravestone. Let these human remnants return to the universe, though keep a few choice pieces to be brought back to home space. The command crew diligently followed his orders, and the fleet began its work. After the last wreckage was flung towards Alpha Centauri A, Patriarch Tov motioned for Admiral Jan.
Yes, my lord.
How far is the Sol system, Admiral?
A moment, my lord.
The Kurzkan Admiral paused before returning her attention to Tov.
Approximately 3.76 light cycles, or 4.37 of their light years, my lord.
That's quite close. Patriarch Tov deliberated for a moment before waving his antenna. Very well. Set course with Sol, Admiral.
By your will, Patriarch.
The expeditionary fleet travelled to the nearest Langreich point with their sublight engines, and after a short period, the fleet began to shimmer as a prismatic fog engulfed every starship. When the fog crackled bright lightning and finally faded, the fleet was gone from the system. Once more, Alpha Centauri was silent. The only evidence of any human or Galactic Federation presence was a floating obelisk orbiting the barren moon, right beside the wrecked quantum communication station. On the marker was a list of names and a message written in runic common and English. Here lies 112 brave souls from the human race, their sacrifice witnessed by the crew of the 3rd Expeditionary Fleet of the Galactic Federation. Pay respects, you who pass through these stars, and sing eternal hymns, for you sail amongst the bones of heroes.